Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video I'm going to be taking you through on how you can draft this basic bodice block. Having a basic bodice block is so good because with a basic bodice block you can make so many other things just by tweaking parts of it. So yes, this pattern is just a basic one with the basic neck and the basic waist dart, and later on in the channel I'm going to be using this pattern to make so many other different things. So yes, this is why this is my second video, so that we can have this on the channel. So if you want to know how I made this basic bodice block, keep on watching. These are the following tools that we're going to need. We're going to need pattern paper, of course. We're going to need a tape rule. We're going to need a marker. We're going to need, this is a armhole curve ruler. We're going to need a straight ruler, and then we're going to need a French curve, and then pattern scissors. And also these are all of my measurements, and this is so helpful for me. I measured myself and I got all of these measurements, so anytime I want to sew anything I don't need to start measuring again and all of that. I could just take my book and just know, okay, these are my measurements. So I'm going to make a video very soon showing you how to get all of these measurements, both the vertical and the horizontal measurements. So now those are the things that we need. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure the horizontal measurements. And before we do that, I want us to, one thing that I like to do is that I like to leave space above, just in case I want to add anything on top or I want to add anything. So I just like to leave space on top. So yeah, I'm going to leave one. Okay. And also, I don't like it when patterns are cut in different places and there's no straight line, because sometimes I just want to do things and it's better when there's a straight line. So what I like to do is that every time I want to cut a pattern, I look at the highest measurements that I would need, okay? And the highest measurements, the biggest measurement that I would need for this pattern is my hip. So my hip is 38. So 38 divided by 4, that is 9.5. So I'm just going to add, like, maybe, okay, since it's 9.5, I'm just going to add 2.5 inches, and that would give us 12. Yes, so I'm just going to measure 12. So that is it. So now first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to measure the horizontal, then the vertical measurements. So my shoulder to bust is 10. Okay, and I'm going to, then I'm going to measure my bust to waist. Mine is 5.75 inches. And I'm going to measure my waist to hip, and that is 9 inches. We're going to get our neckline and our shoulder point. So the standard for the neck is 3. That's the standard. So you could either want yours to be wider, it depends on you, but the standard is 3. So I'm going to get that 3. Very good. And then for my shoulder to shoulder is 14 and a half, which is 7.25. So I'm just going to mark 7.25 there. Very good. And for the shoulder, since our shoulder is slanted in a way, we always like, so the standard is to drop down from that shoulder point down to 1 inch. Okay, because our shoulder is slanted, so that's why we have to make this slant. So instead of it being just a straight line, it's going to come like this. So now let's move on to the neckline. So for the neckline, we're going to be drafting both the front panel neckline and the back panel neckline. So for the back panel neckline, it usually is just like 1 inch, while for the front panel, it's usually 4 inches. Yes, so I'm going to measure this here as well so that I'll be able to get the accurate. Just to make sure that the lines are accurate. So now it has to be 3, right? It has to be 3 so that the box would be clear. Okay. Now for let's use our French curve to do this. Very good. And then for this one, like this. So next, I'm going to show you how we're going to do this later on. So let's just keep that aside. So now, we're going to need to get the chest line, the armhole. Okay, so there's a formula for it. It's your bust divided by 6 plus 1, but I didn't use that because my bust is not proportionate with the other measurements of my body, so that didn't work well for me. So I just measured my armhole, and my armhole is 16, and when I used the formula, I think it was 14.5 or something like that, so that was not accurate. So I just measured my armhole. It's best for you to just measure your armhole, like just do your measurements so that the dresses will come out perfectly on your body. Yeah. So now from this point, you're going to measure your armhole. So my armhole is 16 divided by 2, that is 8. Yes. So since we don't have this 1 inch here, we're just going to do 9 inches. That would give us the 8 inches. So 9, and let me just make sure that this is correct because okay. So I don't think this one is correct actually. Yes, I measured 8 instead of 9. I was looking at it, it's not correct. So yeah, this is it. So just draw a straight line. Very good. Now this is my upper bust. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the vertical measurements. So for my bust is, my bust is 34 inches, 8.625. So later on I'm going to make a video on how to interpret measuring tapes accurately. So yes, so after this, let's just do the thing first. So for my waist, it's 27 divided by 4, that is 6.75. Okay, and then my hip is 38 divided by 4, that is 9.5. Okay, so now since this is a dress, you want to use it to make a dress, so you should always add ease, because especially if you're a beginner, you may want to add 1 inch, but if you don't really need that and you're sure of the measurements, you can just add ½ an inch. Yes, so this is just to make sure that if you don't make clothes that are going to be too tight and all that, you just leave space for ease. Yeah, so I'm going to be adding ½ an inch. Okay, so I'm going to add ½ an inch here. I'm going to add ½ an inch here as well on my waist and also on my hip. So now, first thing, let's do the armhole first and then we'll go to the jack and all of that. So now, for the armhole, we're going to want to draw a straight line like so. Just draw a straight line like this. So we're going to measure. This is 8. Oh, how many is this? This is 7.25. So I'm going to measure 7.25 here so that I can draw the straight line. I'm just going to draw a straight line like so. Yes. So now I'm going to get the middle point of these 2 points. That is 8. So that means that my measuring length and my middle point is going to be 4. So now for the back panel and for the front panel, there's a difference, because in the front panel we're going to go in from this middle point, we're going to go in 0.75. okay, so this is the way it's going to be. You're going to connect this line like so. This is for the front panel, and then get your armhole curve. If you don't have a armhole curve, you could just just going to do it like this. Can you see? Yeah. So I'm going to connect this like so. Yes. So this is for your front panel. So for your back panel, you're just going to get from here. Just measure it like this. So we're going to measure it like that now. Very simple. So this is the front and this is the back. So the reason why there's this difference is so that for the back panel you have ease to move your hands backward and forward. So that's why there's a difference like this. So yeah, so now moving on to the dart. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, you're going to want to get your bust point to bust point measurement. So my bust point to bust point is 8, and then you divide that by 2, so that gave me 4. So I'm going to mark my 4th for here. So now I want my darts to be 1 inch wide. So I'm going to put 1/2 an inch on one side and 1/2 an inch on the other side. So that is it. So for my bust point, I'm going to measure 4 as well. I'm going to measure that 4 as well. And my hip, I'm going to measure that 4 as well. And then for my bust point, I'm going to go down 1 inch. And then for my hip, I'm going to go up 2 inches. Okay, so now I'm going to connect this like so, connect this like so. So let's do that right now. Okay, so since we're going to fold this in, right, we have to compensate for this one. We have to compensate for it here. So from this point, I'm going to add 1 inch. So that is it. So now we're going to connect the lines on the hip. Okay, so that is it. So I'm just going to leave 1/2 an inch for seam allowance and 0.25 inch for seam allowance, just so that there's space for the seam. So that is it. So now we're ready to cut. So we're going to add 1/2 an inch for the bottom, for the vertical measurements as well. So now it's time to cut. So we're going to only cut this one for the back panel and this one for the back panel, and then we're going to place it out on fresh pattern paper. So let's quickly do that now. Okay, so now that we have this is our back panel all cut out. So this is our back panel all cut out. So what we're going to do is we're going to trace it out on fresh pattern paper. So for the back panel of my patterns, I like to add, especially basic bodice and skirt, I like to add the zip allowance already, so that I could just cut it, because most dresses come with zips at the back, so I just like to just include that in my basic bodice. So I'm going to do that right now. So like I did before, we're going to do that 12 inches, because see how easy it was for me. Like I just went on to the next without having to worry about, you know, ragged lines on my pattern and all of that. It just helps. Whew. Okay, so let's do that now. Now we're just going to, so let's imagine that this is not here. Should I cut it off? Let me quickly cut it off. So now we're going to put this here and we're just going to trace it out. So as I don't have pattern weights, I literally just use random heavy objects in my home. Please, if you have a pattern weight plug, beg, pick me up. That I'll stop using random objects in my home. So a quick story. Before I used to use pens to draft my patterns, and one day I couldn't find my pen. I was just like, let me just get these let me just use these marking pens, and my god, the difference is so clear. Please see how seamless it is for me to trace this out. Like, I know when you're drafting patterns, tracing is it's a lot, especially when you're getting it from like basic bodies and you're transforming it into something else. So please, pickle. Don't use pens anymore. If you use pens, use marking pens like this. Don't use regular pens, sorry. So that's it. So now if you want to get the lines for the waist, I forgot to do that before I cut this. Okay, so yeah, just do like this, this, and this, and you also do it on this side as well. All right, so yeah. So since we don't have transparent pattern paper, so sad. Please, if you know anywhere that is self pattern paper, hook me up, I beg. Hook me up in the comment section, okay? So we're just going to do the darts real quick panel. So I'm just going to cut this out now. So this is the back panel. Yeah, so if you were constructing a dress that does not need a zip, you could just fold it in simple like this. So if you're sewing a dress that doesn't need a zip, you just fold it in like so. And then, but it's just better to have it so that you know, yeah. So that is it for the back panel, and then for the front panel, we're just going to cut out. So this is the neckline for the back. This is the neckline for the this is the armhole for the back. So we're just going to cut out the one for the front, and our pattern is ready. Okay, so now this is our armhole for our back, and our armhole for our neckline for our front. So these are the two patterns together. Hope that you learn something from this. Yeah, so that is it. So this is the armhole for the front and the back. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.